Good morning, friends. We are taking the session related to MSBI. So today's session, just I'll give the basic introduction part for MSBI. What is MSBI and what are the components coming with MSBI? Along with that, what is data warehouse? What is use of data warehouse? Where these data warehouse tools are coming to picture or MSBI tools are coming into the picture. These are the things we'll try to discuss. Introduction for MSBI, as well as what are the components available under MSBI, like what is data warehouse, where the MSBI tools comes into the picture in the data warehouse life cycle. So these are the things for in today's session we'll discuss. MSBI means, the full form of this is Microsoft Business Intelligence. So MSBI is a suite basically. It is a suite provided by Microsoft. So it is a suite basically provided by the Microsoft. For what purpose? Means for business intelligence. It is a suite provided by the Microsoft. For what purpose? Means for business intelligence. What is business intelligence? What is business intelligence? The process of transforming the data to information for presenting to the end user for making a better decision. So what is a business intelligence? Means the process of transforming the data to information for presenting to the end user for making a better decision. So it is transforming of data to the information. We are converting the data in a better understandable format and you are giving it to the end user, means to the particular vendor or to the particular organization, so that they can study that data. Based on that, they can understand how the business is running. Based on that, they can make a proper decisions related to the current business or maybe related to the future. To predict what will happen in the future, you can identify based on how the current business is happening. So two terms are there here, data warehousing and data mining. Like how the current business is running, you can understand, as well as you can predict what will happen in the coming future with this type of business process. To study this process, the way of studying this complete process comes under a part of a business intelligence. From here we are seeing information. Where this information is present means usually in the form of a warehouse system. So that's what business intelligence. To do this process, Microsoft is providing a suite called as an MSBI. So MSBI is a suite for moving the data from data to information process and presenting it to the end user for better presentation process. is complete thing is done with the help of MSBI, Microsoft Business Intelligence Suite. This MSBI comes with 3 modules or 3 tools. What are those tools means? They are something like this. SSIS, SSRS, SSAS. MSBI is coming with 3 modules like SSIS, SSRS, SSAS. What is SSIS? SQL Server Integration Services. SQL Server Integration Services. What is use of it? This SQL Server Integration Service will help you, it is a service basically, will help you to transform the data or to load the data into warehouse system. It is used to load the data into warehouse system. SSIS is a module or it is a GUI tool used to load the data into warehouse system. From where you are loading means from business system, from operational system, from operational system or transactional system or ODS. It is used to load the data into warehouse system from operational system. So to do this type of activity, we are using a module called as an SSIS. What is SSRS? SSRS is SQL Server Reporting Services. So what is use of this? It is used to design reports. It is a service used to design a set of reports. But after designing the reports, we'll try to publish it to your server, to your reporting server, so that the client can access those reports. So SSIS is an integration service used to load the data into a warehouse system. SSRS is used to design the reports. But we are designed a report and you are executing a report. But from where it will pick up the data, from where it will read, means use it to read the data from warehouse system. So what are the reports you are designed? From where it is reading and presenting means from the warehouse system. You are trying to populate the data which is present in the warehouse system and you are presenting it to the end user. First one is loading the data into warehouse system and the second one is reading the data from warehouse system. And the third module, SSAS. What is SSAS means? SQL Server Analysis Services. SQL Server Analysis Services. What is use of it? It is used to design cube and use it to process the cube. So what is use of this particular SQL Server Analysis Services means? It used to design the cube. Basically it is a metadata, and that cube will put into a database. After that you will process the cube so that the database cube will have a data, and this data we will use it again for reporting purpose. If you feel that SSRS is reading data from warehouse system, but the system is becoming very slow, it is unable to read the data in a faster way because it is having huge amount of data. In such cases, you will try to convert our warehouse system into the cube system, and from there we will try to read the data. So to transform your warehouse system into a cube system, will be using SSAS. Now these warehouse systems, usually they are nothing but generally like databases, like an RDBMS, but at the same time they will follow certain rules and regulations, like we will say it is in the form of dimensional model. So these systems means data warehouse system, if it is in the form of dimensional model, it supports you to read the data in a two-dimensional format, means rows and columns. But for analysis purpose, that may not be sufficient to project the data only in a two-dimensional form. For that purpose, you are having a cube which will be in the form of multi-dimensional format. Now here the new terms are coming into picture, like dimensional model and multi-dimensional model. What are those? First new term is like warehouse, second term is dimensional model, third term is multi-dimensional model. What are these things we should discuss? We will try to take a few minutes to discuss about those things. So MSBI is a suite provided by the Microsoft organization. This suite is consisting three modules like SSIS, SSRS and SSAS. As a part of MSBI course, we will be discussing mainly about these three modules. But to work with these three modules, we should know first of all what is business intelligence. For that we are saying like the process of transforming the data to information and presenting to the end user for making a better decision is called as business intelligence. Now you are transforming into information, but where the information is kept means in the warehouse system. So how do you transform and how do you put in a warehouse system means with the help of a module called as an SSIS, SQL Server Integration Services. Once the warehouse system is built, from there we want to read the data. For that purpose we are using some component called as an SSRS. With the help of that you are designing the reports to read the data from warehouse system. It doesn't mean that it reads only from warehouse system, it will have a facility to read even from SS like cube system also. But first of all, what is SSAS? It is to design a cube. SQL Server Analysis Services used to design a cube and used to process the cube into database. But why you need all these things means mainly because of business intelligence. Where you are applying all these things means on the warehouse system. So you should have a basic idea like what is data warehouse and how do you implement this business intelligence. For that we will try to take a few specifications like this. Along with MSBI, definitely you should learn what is warehouse system, how that warehouse system will be built. You should have an idea about that. So as I already done about the introduction part for MSBI, now I'll go for introduction to data warehouse. So we are saying that with the help of SSIS tool, we are building the data warehouse system. With the help of SSRS system, we are reading data from the data warehouse system. And if SSRS is having a very slow process while reading of data from warehouse system, means we are creating a cube system, but cube system is created from data warehouse. So what is data warehouse? As a general specifications, if you take it up, it is a storage area. So I'll take only one database system, like for example RDBMS, or I'll take another component as a flat file, XML, and a legacy system. Any one of these storages can be used in the form of data warehouse. RDBMS, flat file, XML, and legacy system. So legacy system is nothing but mainframes, and the mainframes mainly will have something called as an file system. That files are basically all represented with this vsam files. So it may be a mainframe vsam files, or XML, or a flat files, or RDBMS system. RDBMS means it is not only RDBMS, even it can be ORDBMS also. Is treated or is used in the form of data warehouse. What is use of it? Use it to hold large volume of data. Used to hold large volume of data. What does it mean? Means historical data and current data. So what is that huge volume of data means? It is nothing but historical and the current data. What you will do with this? Use it to perform multi-dimensional analysis. Used to perform multi-dimensional analysis. What does it mean? Means comparative and historical analysis. What is use of this analysis? Use it to make a better decision. So what is a data warehouse means? We'll say that it is a storage area used to hold a large volume of data, used to perform multi-dimensional analysis, used to make a better decision. See, it is a general definition of data warehouse. Layman definition of data warehouse. What is data warehouse means? Usually we will say it is a storage area used to perform analysis for making a better decision. It is a general definition, layman definition. Technical definition is different. So the technical definition we will see in a little bit later. In a couple of minutes we will try to go for technical definition. So this definition cannot be given by the experienced people. Maybe the student who came from just from the academic, he may say that it is a storage area. But if you say that you're having a 4 years experience or 5 years experience, you should not say dataware is a storage area. Strictly speaking, it is not only a storage area, it is having some other specification for that. We'll see little bit later. First of all, why you want to make a decision? Why you want to make a decision? So, decision making required for betterment purpose. It is whether it may be in a sales, maybe in a career, maybe in any field. If you want to have betterment, you should take some decision for making the better process. Whether it is in a career part or maybe in a life, maybe in a business, anything. But if it is considered as a sales related thing, how do you make a decision? That decision making comes based on how the current business is running. If you know how the current business is running, based on that you can take the decision. Means, if you want to make a decision, means, first of all, you should know which is correct, which is wrong. Means you should have a conclusion. So if you want to have a conclusion, means, first of all, that means which is correct, which is wrong. How do you know that? By performing analysis. But to perform analysis, you should have something called as a report or maybe a chart. What is there in the report and the chart? Nothing but a data. So if you want to have a data, means I should have something called as storage area. So whatever the data present in the storage, read that data present in the form of reports, maybe in a textual form or a graphical form. Then with the help of that, study that information, means understand the data. Based on that, come to a conclusion which is correct or which is wrong. Based on that, take a decision. So a simple definition of data warehouse means it is a storage area used to perform analysis for making a better decision. It is a process what is happening. You are reading data from the storage, presenting in the form of reports, and with the help of that you are performing analysis, means you are studying it. With the help of that you are coming to a conclusion. From that conclusion we will make a decision. So why you want to make a decision? For making the business to be more profitable. Like a person is there who is doing a business about 1000 crores turnover. Now he want to plan for the next year what he has to do, whether he has to work with a new venture or he has to work on existing business. That depends how the current business is running. If current business is success, then he can plan for the new venture. Otherwise, there is no meaning to think about the new ventures. He has to work on existing business only. But for that, first of all, you should know whether the current business is success or failure. For that, he has to study the current business information. That's what analysis. How do you study? Means maybe in the multi-dimensional format. That is the reason you are representing as multi-dimensional analysis. But this is a general definition of data warehouse. What is the technical definition of data warehouse? We'll see a little bit later. But before that, to learn this data warehouse or to learn this MSBI, the prerequisite is database. Definitely you should have a knowledge on SQL. Without having SQL, it is not possible to work with MSBI. It is a mandatory, you should have knowledge on database. It is a prerequisite. So first of all, we will see what is database and then we will come back to this data warehouse. What is database? Because we are saying it is a prerequisite for learning MSBI or for data warehouse system. So what is database? Usually the people say it is a storage area. So when you go for any database training also, basically the trainer or maybe the general communication term will say it is a storage area. Will say it is a storage. So we are trying to store some data within the database as a general specifications, as a general conversation process. It's fine, you are storing the data, you are reading and maybe you are studying, fine. But database, you are using it, but before that database, is there any other system to store this data? Like, is it like when the business is started, when the computerization is started, is it like you are started with the database directly? No, we are having various other things. So what are the other things you are having means, for example, you are having something called as file system. So before the database is started in the industry to store the data, before that itself you are having a file system to store our data. Now if you take your file system, on the file system we can perform CRUD operations. We can perform CRUD operations, means create, or you may say as an insert, read, update and delete. So we can add the records into the file system, we can read the data from the file system, we can update the records in the file system, we can delete the records from the file system. Even database is also performing same thing. It is all supporting CRUD operation. That means what are the things are there in the database, these activities are already provided by the file system also. What are the create, read, update, delete activities you are able to perform on database, the same thing is provided by the file system also. But why the industry is switching from file to database? Why the industry is switched from file system to database? Means usually the people will say in general 3 types of reasons. What are those? Usually people will say file stores less amount of data, database can store huge amount of data. That is the first thing they will specify. Second thing, security. File system can be accessible to any person can read the data using accessibility to that system. And third one is accessibility of data. File system accessibility is slow when compared to database. Database having faster accessibility. So that means usually the people will give 3 reasons why you are switching to database. One is database can store huge amount of data when compared to file. Second thing, it's providing better security when compared to file system. And third one, it is having better accessibility of data. 3 reasons usually the people will mention. Database stores huge amount of data. This is the first reason. Second reason, database is providing better security. And third one, database is providing better accessibility. Usually the people will tell about these three reasons why you are switching from file to database. Strictly speaking, the first one is not valid. Even file can also store huge amount of data, not a problem. Definitely security is a valid, accessibility is a valid point. But as per our context, we'll try to talk about only accessibility part. But definitely security is also playing very important role for switching from file to database. But as per our context, as per warehouse system or as per MSBI, we are talking about accessibility. Now, for example, if you are working with a file system, you are having some records like this. First record, second record, third record. Like this, it is consisting approximately 1 million record. You are having 1 million records are present, for example, in the file system. Now you got a requirement, employee number is something like this, 98,586. This employee record you want to read and you want to display. Now when you say file system, usually will store the records line by line, one by one. Maybe with some row delimiter, we will try to store the data. And as well as between the row, what are the fields you are having? Like for example, you say employee number, employee name, address, or some fields. Those fields are separated with some delimiter. Maybe as a comma or a space or a tab or something. So at the time of reading process, you doesn't have anything like row and column. I need to open a file in read only mode. Once the file is opened, then I need to read the first line. Immediately I need to check whether it is reached to end of file or not. If it is not end of file, then I will assume that there is some data. I have to split it into pieces, pick up the employee number. If you feel that before first comma employee number is there, so pick up that field and compare it to your required value. If it is same, display the record, else ignore that record, read the next line and check whether it is reached to end of file or not. If it is not end of file, again you have to split it and you have to compare. Like this you should do the process. Now in which line this employee code is present, we don't know. So it should scan a set of records line by line. So what happens? It takes very long time to read the data and to present the data. Means when the data increases in the file system, it becomes slow in execution process. If data is very less, fine, but if data is increasing step by step, it becomes slow. So we are talking about only 1 million records, but in the business system you will have more than this data. So at the time the system is not able to respond properly. That is the reason we are switching to database. So in the database there is some concept like indexing. So with the help of that, I can read the data in a very much faster way when compared to file system. I am not saying that within a fraction of a second in every time we will get the data from database, but when compared to file system, definitely it is more faster because of a concept called as indexing. On what are the fields you will be searching frequently, for all those fields we will create the indexes, and based on that we will try to extract the data. What is indexing, how it is implemented, in the coming sessions we will discuss, but for time being we will try to understand that it is one concept which is helping you to read the data in a faster way. So when you are reading the data faster way, that means the end user within less time is able to view the data. So he will be benefited because of this database. That is the reason we are switching from file system to database. This is the reason behind why you are switching from file to database. Fine. But even in the database, so for example, you are having something like the records are increased up to, for example, $10 trillion records. Something like this. So I need to give some other zeros. So it is like millions, billions, thousands and hundreds. So like 10 trillion records are there. Now what is performance is there with 1 million records, with 1 million records? Can you expect the same performance with the 10 trillion records? Here data is tremendously increased because of business. Like you take as an online shopping or maybe on banking process or insurance. Years together that businesses are running, every day the business will happen. Because of that the data is tremendously increased and it went for 10 trillion records. Now what is the performance is there with 1 million record? Can you expect same performance with the 10 trillion records? Means definitely no. Every component will have one cutoff level will be there. When the data increases more than that, step by step performance will reduce. At one particular point system may not respond. So it is a problem what you are having. So database definitely it is faster than file system, but when the data is increased tremendously, it is unable to serve the data. So in that particular case this system is failed. So we are trying to look for better storage. Like really is it fails means if you are having this much data, maybe if you attempt and if you check it up you will understand. For that a simple example I will give. If you take your MS Word, as per your wish you can type the data there. But when the data increases, after some time, after 1 day or 2 days, if you try to open that file by double clicking on the system environment, it takes very long time to open. Sometimes the MS Word will not respond, sometimes system will hang. At the time of writing not a problem, you can store huge amount of data, but when you try to double click on that file and if you try to open, sometimes that file will not respond, sometimes even system will not respond. That means if the data is more than its capacity, then definitely it will affect the application as well as system. Same thing here also. Even database, if you are having a 10 trillion records or something like that, I am not saying database fail, but its performance will not be same with 1 million what you are having. But if data is increased more than this, then maybe even database will fail to respond to the end user's request. But when you say that you are having a business system since 8 years or 9 years, the data you are having, so this system is not serving properly, I should look for better component. What is that better component means? Data warehouse system. Data warehouse system. Whatever the records present in the database, you move it to data warehouse system. So this particular area where you are using MSBI, one module called as an SSIS. With the help of SSIS module, we will try to read the data from the database and you will put into the warehouse system. Why you are switching? Means the simple reason, like we have switched from file to database. Why? For faster accessibility. Same way from database you are switching to data warehouse system for faster accessibility. So this is the warehouse system. where you are trying to store huge amount of data for faster accessibility purpose. Now for example, you are working with only one record. So if you are trying to work with single record, is it required to switch to database? Is it required to switch to database? If you are assuming that your file system is having one record, in its complete life cycle, the data will not increase. For example, it is having only one record throughout the life cycle. So is it required to switch to database? Means, strictly speaking, it is not at all advisable. It is not advisable. Why? Means, if it is only one record, this file system is more faster when compared to database. Because here straight away you can read the data, but whereas database you should write a select statement, that is a program internally, you should compile and should execute. So it takes very long time. Second thing, first of all, we need to have one database developer to prepare these queries, and we should have one administrator to manage the database, and first of all you have to purchase the database. So it is very costly. But when it comes to file system, nothing to purchase. It is very cheaper. So it is not at all advisable to switch to database if there is only one record. Same way, is it advisable to switch to data warehouse if you are having 1 million records? Means, it is not at all advisable. If you are having 1 million records or 10 million records or 1 billion records, it is not necessary. There is no necessity to switch it to warehouse system. It is not recommendable to switch to data warehouse. Why? Means, it is a very costly affair, and first of all your database itself is able to serve the data, so then no need to look for another better system. If your database is failing to serve the data, only in such cases look for data warehouse. So data warehouse is required only if you are having a bulk amount of data and where you need a faster reporting process. So that's what a data warehouse system. But as per this process also, we are trying to represent that it is a storage area, a general definition. But technically, what is it? A data warehouse system. We will try to see that, because we are saying that to learn this data warehouse system or to learn MSBI, we are saying database is a prerequisite. So what is database? As per previous definition, we are saying it is a storage area. But technically, is it a storage area? Like if you attend any sessions on the database, usually in the first session we will listen the term like database means it is a storage area used to store huge amount of data when compared to file system. But when you go for further classes, second class, third class, fourth class, fifth class, you will listen one time of definition for this database. So after 4 or 5 classes, usually the people will give a new definition. What does that mean? They will say database used to maintain the data in the form of rows and columns. In the first session, usually we will listen something called as database means is a storage. It is a storage area used to store huge amount of data. But when it goes for a session 4 or session 5 or something like this, then the definition will changes to database is used to maintain the data in the form of rows and columns. In the form of rows and columns. So in the first definition, people are, we usually say it is a storage area used to store the data. But after certain sessions, the people will say that it is used to maintain the data. Now store and maintain. Are these two terms are same? Store and maintain. You are in the first definition, usually we will hear by saying that used to store the data, but after certain sessions we will be hearing that it used to maintain the data. Now stores and maintains, are they same? Means strictly speaking they are not same. So actually the definition is changed. We should notice that particular process. The definition is changed in such a way that here we are saying that database used to organize the data, it used to maintain the data. It will not store anything in its own. Data is stored somewhere. Data will not present in the database strictly speaking, that is present else some other place. It is not exactly on the database area. What is database means? Is just used to organize the data in a better form for faster reporting. Now if you go for further sessions, maybe a session 5, session 6, something like this, at one particular session we will be hearing that table will not hold any data. Usually we will say that table is consisting the data in the form of rows and columns, but usually after certain classes the people will say table is a physical object, you are interacting with the table, but actually data is present somewhere, that is in logical area. So you are having some logical space or logical area, data is present here, but you cannot access this data, the table is interacting to this particular area. So in the table we are having its specifications like we will say rows and columns, but here we will call as an attributes. By seeing this itself we can understand that database is not holding anything, it is present at some other location which is represented in the form of tuples and attributes, but usually we will say table is holding, but strictly speaking data is present somewhere. In simple way to understand it, we will make it in general process in such a way. For example, you are installing SQL Server. You are install the SQL Server or maybe a Oracle database. Where you are installing? In your hard drive. You will install these databases on the hard drive. What the hard drive is consisting? Maybe C drive, maybe D drive, something like this. You are saying that you are installing SQL Server or Oracle on the C drive. So through my computer, if you explore, what will be there? Like for example, you are saying that in SQL Server or maybe in Oracle, you have created something called as an EMP table, and within this you have inserted nearly 100 records. You have inserted 100 records. Now when you go to your hard drive, when you explore my computer, and if you explore it, you are getting the drives. When you go to a particular drive, you are finding the SQL Server, like maybe here, if it is a SQL Server, maybe you are having something called as in program files. In the program files, you are having maybe a SQL Server. So if it is a Oracle, maybe you are having a drive called as an Oracle. Maybe here APP, something like this. Now can you find anywhere that EMP table? Strictly speaking, you will not find out any EMP table in this place. What is this? These things? These are folders. Maybe internally it consists files. We are saying that we are installing database, within that you are creating a table, you are inserting the records. But when you explore as per the system environment, system will consist, or your hard drive consists only folders and files. It consists only folders and files. It will not consist any other thing. Means internally database is storing the data in the file only. So database is not a physical component to store the data. It is again depending on a file system only. But if you work directly with the file system, the process is very slow. But when you work through the database, database is adding some additional features to that, like indexing. maybe so many other concepts are there, which is programming techniques to make sure that reading becomes more and more faster. We are applying some special rules on that. So the complete thing we are calling as database. Strictly speaking, only storage is not a database. For that storage, you are layering some specifications and you are calling the total component as a database. So database is, strictly speaking, it is not a storage area, it is a system or it is a process which will tell how to store the data. It will tell how to store the data. That's what database. So if you take a SQL server, basically you will get something called as an MDB files. So if you want to add that database into your system, we will attach it and you will try to use it. So that file itself, when you are saying it is a file, that when you install that file into your SQL server, we are getting tables along with structure, along with the data. Means internally you can say that file is holding the data, not your SQL server or not your Oracle database. So database will not hold any data, it will just tell how to store the data in a file system. So final data is present file only, but you are trying to organize it. That means in another way, like for example, if you take something called as a storage area, on the storage area we are layering it, we are adding some specifications to this. Some specifications are like chord rules. Whenever you are saying database, you will say that it should implement the chord rules. If it doesn't implement, we cannot call that as a database. Definitely this chord rule should be implemented. At least 4 rules. At least 4 rules you should follow the chord rules, and if it follows, then only you will call that as a database. Same way, we rank one more thing called as an ANSI SQL standards. If you want to call your system as a database, means it should implement ANSI SQL standards. That means if you implement some specification from chord rules and ANSI SQL standards on the storage area with some programming technique, then this system can be called as database system. So simply storage is not a database. It is a storage which is fulfilling certain rules and regulations. So that particular component you are calling as database. Not only these two, so many other things are there. Only 2 main points I am mentioning here. So this SQL standards, the base starting version is 1996. From there the standards are started. Before that itself rank database, but the standards are started in the period of 1996. And the latest version is 2011. The documentation is ANSI SQL standards 2011. So if any person is saying that I am developing a new database now, means definitely you should follow these 2 things. Along with that, so many other specifications are there. By showing this, what I am trying to say is database is a system which will explain how to store the data or how to organize the data with some sort of specifications. For why you are moving to this type of thing is for better accessibility. Same way, in the same way, data warehouse also. What is data warehouse? What is data warehouse? Means I already mentioned storage here, but at the same time I told is a general definition. So what is exactly data warehouse means? It is a concept. It is not a storage area. It is a concept. It is a theory. Database means we are saying that it is a system which is implementing chord rules, ANSI SQL standards and other specifications. Same way, data warehouse is also a concept. It is not a storage. If itself is a storage, if you say that data warehouse is storage means, then why you need these things? No need of these things. If you say that data warehouse itself is storing some data, means then why you need these things? It is no need of it. But that means by seeing this statement itself, you should understand data warehouse is not storing anything by itself. What is data warehouse means, it is a concept. But then why you are saying it's storage area previously means, it is a general conversation. Like what is database means, we are saying it's storage area for general communication purpose. Same way data warehouse also for general communication purpose, we are saying storage area, but technically it is not storage area, it is a concept. So whenever you say concept, what is that concept means, we'll say like some theory, maybe set of specifications, set of rules, something like that. But whenever you say a concept or the rules, definitely have some principles will be there. What are those principles means? Like subject oriented, integrated, non-volatile, time variant. These are the 4 principles, and if you observe these principles, they are related to storage of data. It is saying that data should be in the form of subjects, small subjects. Like when you're trying to learn any WOOPS concepts, or maybe C++, or maybe C#.NET or Java, we'll say that you should create small objects and you should integrate it. Same thing here also. Don't design entire thing as a single component, make a small subject areas. Like sales is one subject area, maybe inventory is one subject area, something else. Group them as separately. Next, integrated. It should have a capability to integrate different operational systems data, because there is no guarantee your business data will present in single type of storage. From different parts of world you are getting, like Amazon, they are having sales throughout the world. So there is no guarantee that entire data is present in same type of storage. So try to accommodate into common type of storage. That is what integrated. Non-volatile means read only. So if you want to perform analysis means you should have a steady data. So all these things you are doing only for analysis purpose. For analysis we should have a steady data. To have a steady data, the data should be in the form of read only. That's what third principle. Time variant. We are saying that data warehouse is used to maintain history and the current data. So to maintain history and current, when you are maintaining which is history and which is current, how do you identify? We should have a timestamp. That's what time variant. So if you take any storage area, on the storage area, if you apply these 4 principles, then this is called as data warehouse system. Why you need to apply these rules and regulation means for better management of data. So what is data warehouse? So technical definition of data warehouse means, we'll say like this. It is a concept used to organize the data in a better form, for faster accessibility. So what is data warehouse means? It is a concept used to organize the data in a better form for faster accessibility. For database also we give the same definition, but its specifications are not supporting if the data is coming like 300 trillion records, something like that. So for that purpose we are applying some special techniques on above that called as a data warehouse theory. This is what is data warehouse means. So technical definition is used to organize the data in a better form for faster reporting. It is purely a concept, it is a specification. But in this data warehouse life cycle now, where your MSBI is coming to the picture. Just I'll give a small block diagram. Maybe in the next session I'll be continuing what is exactly the life cycle of data warehouse. But just to have a better view for the next session purpose, I am just giving a block diagram. Business application. I am not explaining a complete process here, just I am giving a block diagram. So here having something called as an OLTP, and here we are having a module called as SSIS, a component of MSBI. And from this we are creating a separate system called as an OLAP, and here we are using second module of MSBI called as an SSRS, and with the help of that we are designing the reports and we are publishing the reports. But at the same time we are having one more component, what is that means? SSAS, it is a third module which is creating some cube database. So with the help of this I will represent in different form. So here you are having a block, here we are having something like this. From OLAP system, and from OLAP system to here, and from this to this place. So what is this component means? SSAS. And what is this component means? It is cube database, cube DB. Now your SSRS tool is extracting or it is populating the data from OLAP with the help of SQL commands, or maybe with the help of some SQL programming. Same way your SSAS is give some cube system, and from cube your SSRS is also taking the data and giving in the form of report. Here we will be using something called as an MDX. So your SSRS tool or module is having capability to read from OLAP system. So this is nothing but data warehouse. It is a data warehouse system. It is what type of architecture you will follow here means, it is follows or it implements dimensional model. So what is dimensional model we should discuss, and when you come to the cube database, it is a multi-dimensional model. So to read the data from multi-dimensional model, it uses MDX. To read the data from dimensional model, it uses SQL queries, and finally you are designing the report and you are presenting it to the end user. So in our sessions now you should discuss what is OLTP, what is OLAP, why you want to transform the data with the help of SSIS, all these type of things. But these things will take in the next session. But as a part of MSBI, which I already mentioned that there are 3 modules. These 3 modules we are using in these 3 areas: SSIS, SSR and SSAS. What is exactly about this architecture we will try to discuss in the next video or next session. So thank you.